My dear old friends, how are you feeling today? I ask because every morning I remind myself that health isn't a possession, it's a relationship. I'm Dr. Thompson, and after 50 years of walking beside patients through the long corridors of medicine and life, I've learned one simple truth. The heart is not just an organ, it's a storyteller. It records every joy, every loss, every skipped breath of gratitude or grief. When I retired, I thought I was stepping away from hearts. But it turns out, they've never stopped speaking to me. That's why I'm here, on Retired Doctor, to share what those voices have taught me. If you find comfort or wisdom here, I invite you to like, subscribe, and share this space with others who still believe that growing old can mean growing strong. Before we begin, remember, this channel is for education and reflection, not personal treatment. Always talk with your doctor about your care. My mission here is simple: to protect the health and dignity of aging, one quiet story at a time. This morning, the light is soft against my kitchen wall. The kettle hums. The old clock above the stove beats a steady rhythm tick. Tock, tick. It sounds almost like a pulse. Sometimes I think that's why I love mornings. They remind me that time, like blood, flows only forward. I sip my tea and think of all the people I've known whose hearts gave out not from age, but from neglect. They didn't die of disease, they died of distraction. Here's the shock. Most heart attacks don't begin with pain. They begin with silence. A skipped walk, a skipped meal, a skipped moment of rest. I've seen men collapse in the garden and women faint at the sink. Their hearts burdened not by fate, but by 1,000 small abandonments. The truth is, 1% of seniors never reach that breaking point. Their hearts remain strong, not because they're lucky, but because they listen early. One of them was a man named Walter, 80 years old, retired carpenter, big hands, gentle eyes. He came to me one autumn after feeling short of breath while raking leaves. His blood work was fine, his EKG steady, but he said, "Doc, something feels heavy in my chest. Not pain, just weight." I asked about his routine. He smiled. Breakfast, coffee, sit. Lunch, sit. Dinner, sit. I nodded. And walking? He chuckled. "Does walking to the porch count?" We laughed. But then I asked him to try something different. 10 minutes of walking every morning. 10 in the evening. Nothing intense. Just movement. 2 weeks later, he came back glowing. "Doc," he said, "it's like someone opened a window inside me." That's what the 1% do. They open windows. They let the heart breathe. The realization struck me after decades of patients like Walter. The human heart isn't fragile. It's simply responsive. It reflects how you treat it. If you feed it imbalance, it strains. If you feed it rhythm, it sings. It doesn't ask for perfection, just participation. I remember visiting a woman named Eileen, 76, living alone after her husband passed. She used to skip meals out of sadness, then binge on sweets late at night. Her pressure rose, her energy fell, and her doctor added pill after pill. When she came to me, she said, "I don't understand, how can I be sick when I eat so little?" I asked her to show me her meals. A cookie here, a sandwich there. I told her gently, "Your heart doesn't run on how much you eat, but on what and when. It's not the quantity, it's the balance." We sat together and made a plan. Small, steady meals. Breakfast with protein. Lunch with color. Dinner light and early. I asked her to walk 5 minutes after each meal, to let her heart feel the rhythm of digestion and breath. 2 months later, she called. "Doc," she said, "I think my heart forgave me." That call stayed with me for years. Because forgiveness, that's what balance really is. It's not punishment for bad choices. It's reconciliation between body and will. The 1% live in that reconciliation every day. They don't chase health, they nurture it. I've often told my patients, if your day is a song, your heart is the drummer. Skip the beat too long, and the melody collapses. But if you keep time, eat on rhythm, rest on rhythm, walk on rhythm, the whole song holds. It's strange how simple the heart's requests are. A bit of movement, a bit of pause, a bit of nourishment. Yet we trade those for convenience, fast food, long sitting, endless scrolling. And when the numbers on the monitor rise, we say, "Why me?" But the answer was whispered long before. The heart was tired of waiting for balance. One winter evening, after I'd retired, I met an old patient at the grocery store. She was in her 80s. Basket full of vegetables, yogurt, and a loaf of whole grain bread. "Doc," she said, "I started doing what you said. Walk, eat, rest. My son says I'm getting younger." She laughed, and I saw in her eyes the glow I used to see in my younger patients, vitality born, not of youth, but of consistency. That moment reminded me of something profound. Prevention doesn't happen in hospitals. It happens in kitchens, in gardens, in the quiet spaces between meals and steps. It happens when you choose to cook instead of order, to stroll instead of sit, to breathe instead of brood. So tonight, before bed, promise yourself this tomorrow. You'll take one small walk after breakfast, not to burn calories, but to honor your heart. You'll fill your plate with color, not just habit. You'll rest without guilt, move without rush, eat without distraction, because the heart, my dear friends, does not fail suddenly. It fades slowly when forgotten, but the beautiful thing about it is it never stops waiting to forgive you. And if you listen, really listen, you'll hear it say what I've heard 1,000 times from the 1%, "Thank you for remembering me." There's something about the heart that humbles even the most confident among us. For years, I believed I understood it completely, its chambers, its rhythms, its murmurs. But what humbles me now, in these quieter years, is realizing that the heart isn't just a muscle that pumps blood. It's the emotional memory of your life. Every joy, every loss, every moment of kindness or regret leaves a small fingerprint on it. That's why, when I talk about heart health, I don't just mean the arteries and valves. I mean the stories we tell ourselves every day. I once visited a patient named Howard, a retired bus driver who had survived a mild heart attack 5 years before. When I arrived at his home, the smell of soup filled the air, and soft jazz played in the background. He was stirring the pot with slow precision, humming to himself. "Doc," he said, "my doctor tells me I've got to take it easy. But if I stop moving, I feel like I'm fading." He poured 2 bowls, sat across from me, and smiled. "I changed everything since the attack. Smaller meals, more walks, more naps. But the best thing I did, I started forgiving myself." He laughed quietly. "For the years I spent driving through stress, eating fast food, ignoring every signal my body sent. That conversation stayed with me because it captured something science alone can't measure. The 1% aren't perfect. They're forgiving. They learn to make peace with what's been and focus on what still can be. Their secret isn't in miracle diets or new medications. It's in the gentle persistence of daily kindness toward their own bodies. I've seen this pattern again and again. The people who heal best after a heart event are the ones who slow down not just their pace, but their judgment. They learn to eat mindfully, to rest without guilt, to walk without chasing distance. They listen to their hearts not as critics, but as partners. One afternoon, I took a walk around the lake near my home and met an elderly couple sitting on a bench, sharing an apple. The man looked at me and said, "You're that doctor from the talks, aren't you? I used to hate walking. Now it's my favorite meal of the day." His wife laughed. "He means it. We walk after breakfast, like you said, 5 minutes only. But those 5 minutes feel holy now." That word holy made me pause, because what they described wasn't exercise. It was reverence. Movement had become a prayer, a way of saying thank you for another day of heartbeat. That's what balance truly means. Not discipline or punishment, but gratitude expressed through rhythm. When you eat with balance, you aren't restricting, you're respecting. You're telling your heart, I'll give you fuel, not burden. When you take breaks, you're not being lazy. You're letting your body reset its tempo. And when you walk, even just to the mailbox, you're reminding your blood that it still has places to go. I remember a patient named Lydia who worked as a seamstress until she was 70. After retirement, she felt lost. Doc, she said, I used to measure life in stitches. Now I measure it in pills. I told her to replace that habit, measure life in steps. Start small. 10 steps to the porch, 10 back. She began writing the number each day in her notebook. When I visited her months later, she showed me the pages. 500 today. She said proudly, her heart wasn't just stronger, it was joyful again. Empathy begins when you stop treating health as a test and start treating it as a relationship. I've met too many people who live in fear of what their hearts might do. But the truth is, your heart isn't plotting against you, it's pleading with you. It wants partnership, not perfection. Reflection, then, comes from noticing how life itself teaches balance. Watch a tree in the wind. It bends but doesn't break because it knows when to yield. The heart is the same. It thrives on flexibility. Too much control, and it stiffens. Too little, and it weakens. The 1% have learned to bend. They eat with variety. They rest between efforts. They allow joy its place alongside caution. One day, during a talk at the senior center, a man asked me, Doc, what's the most important thing I can do for my heart? I expected to answer with something medical: diet, walking, medication compliance, but what came out surprised even me. Take time to feel love. I said. The room went quiet. I explained, your heart contracts 60 to 80 times a minute, every day, because it believes life is still worth living. The least you can do is remind it why. Later that evening, I thought about that answer. It wasn't sentiment, it was science shaped by empathy. Love releases hormones that calm the cardiovascular system, lower blood pressure, reduce inflammation. Joy literally strengthens the heart. When you laugh, when you hold someone's hand, when you forgive, your heart relaxes and renews itself. The 1% do this naturally. They live connected. The older I get, the more I see how the heart mirrors the mind. A restless mind creates a restless pulse. A peaceful mind steadies it. That's why so much of heart health is not about what you eat, but how you feel when you eat. Not just how far you walk, but how present you are while walking. So tonight, when you finish dinner, take a small walk. Not to reach a number, but to clear space between the day and your rest. Listen to your footsteps as they sync with your heartbeat. Feel the air move in and out. That's your heart's way of saying, I'm here. Thank you for taking me with you. Then, when you return home, sit for a moment in silence. Place your hand over your chest and notice that quiet thump beneath your palm. That's the sound of partnership, the reminder that you and your heart are still a team. Tomorrow, treat it kindly again. That's how the 1% stay strong, not through luck or secrets, but through empathy lived as daily rhythm. There's a kind of peace that comes with age, not because life becomes easier, but because you finally learn what matters enough to keep. When I look back on decades of patients, notes, and hospital corridors, I realize the ones who thrived were not those who chased youth. They were the ones who befriended time. They treated each day as an opportunity to begin again, to keep rhythm with their hearts, not against them. Hope, my friends, is not the absence of illness. It is the quiet confidence that you can keep showing up for your body, even after mistakes, even after loss. You may think it's too late to change, but your heart never stops hoping you will. I've seen men in their 80s reverse damage, once thought permanent, not through miracle drugs, but through gentle consistency, a morning walk, a balanced meal, a deep breath before reacting. Small things, but powerful in repetition. I remember Arthur, a former jazz musician, who once told me, Doc, I started living longer the moment I stopped trying to live forever. He began taking slow walks to the park, humming tunes under his breath. Sitting with the sun on his face, his blood pressure dropped. His cholesterol improved. But what struck me most was his laughter. It sounded like forgiveness set to melody. The heart responds to that joy disguised as oxygen. Many of my patients used to ask, "What does a healthy day look like?" And I tell them, it looks like one that has pauses, a pause before the second helping, a pause before the argument, a pause before the next appointment. Those little pauses, what I call balance breaks, are how the 1% protect their hearts. You see, the body is designed for balance, not endurance. Even your heart rests between beats. It works hard, then it lets go. That's the rhythm of life itself. Effort, rest, renewal. If you can live by that pattern, even now, you'll find that your days feel lighter. You'll notice colors returning to your food, warmth returning to your mornings, calm returning to your sleep. The body doesn't need grand gestures. It needs reliability. Feed it wisely. Move it gently. Rest it regularly. That's the formula the 1% already live by, though most don't even realize it. One afternoon not long ago, I met a woman in her late 70s, tending to her small backyard garden. She was kneeling, pulling weeds, her hat tilted against the sun. "Doc," she said, "my doctor told me to take it easy. But this," she gestured to the soil, "this is my medicine." I watched her for a moment and thought, she's right. She wasn't just exercising her body, she was grounding her heart. Every pull, every breath was a reminder that effort and joy can still share the same space. That's what hope looks like. It's not loud. It's steady. It's you, tying your shoes in the morning, stepping outside to meet the day, instead of waiting for it to come to you. It's cooking your own breakfast instead of skipping it, calling a friend instead of worrying alone, saying thank you before you sleep. Hope doesn't ask for perfection. It only asks for participation. If you ever feel overwhelmed, remember this. Your heart doesn't count years, it counts choices. Every heartbeat is an opportunity to start fresh. You can begin today this very moment by standing, stretching, drinking a glass of water, or taking that first small walk. The road back to strength doesn't begin in the hospital. It begins right where you are, with a quiet decision to keep caring. So, take this as your gentle prescription from an old doctor who's seen both miracles and regrets. Treat your heart as you would an old friend. Check in on it. Feed it well. Don't make it race when it wants to rest. Don't silence it when it tries to speak. And when you feel it beating strong beneath your hand, whisper a thank you. Gratitude, I believe, is the purest form of medicine. Your heart has carried you through every season's storms, laughter, love, and loss, and it still beats for more. That alone is reason enough for hope. The secret of the 1% is not luck, it's rhythm. They eat with balance, not extremes. They walk with purpose, not pressure. They rest when their bodies ask, not when exhaustion demands it. They forgive themselves, let go of guilt, and start again every morning. They understand that heart health is not about control but connection between breath and motion, effort and rest, joy and calm. So tomorrow, as sunlight touches your window, take a moment for stillness. Feel your heart beating steady, patient, alive. Then honor it with one simple act: a balanced meal, a slow walk, a deep breath, a quiet smile. That is how you stay in the 1%, not by fighting age, but by living in rhythm with it. And as always, thank you for sharing this journey with me. I'm Dr. Thompson, and I'll see you in the next story, one heartbeat at a time.